Imagine standing near St. Louis, Missouri, and discovering that more than 1,000 years ago, one of the largest cities in North America stood here. Not New York, not Chicago, not even a European city. Its name was Cahokia. Today, only enormous earthen mounds and archaeological remains reveal that it ever existed. But around the year 1100, Cahokia was a remarkable urban center in the Mississippi River Valley. At its peak, archaeologists estimate that roughly 10,000 to 20,000 people may have lived in Cahokia itself. That was an extraordinary population for its time. The settlement covered thousands of acres and contained dozens of enormous earthen mounds. And towering above the landscape was Monk's Mound. It rises about 30 meters high and covers several hectares, making it the largest prehistoric earthen structure in the Americas. But Cahokia was not simply a collection of mysterious hills. It was a center of political power, religion, trade, farming, and community life. People built homes, public spaces, ceremonial structures, and massive earthworks. They organized enormous amounts of labor to move soil and construct monuments that still survive centuries later. Cahokia even had a wooden ceremonial structure known today as Woodhenge, whose posts were arranged to track the movement of the sun. So how did a civilization without modern machinery create something this enormous? And perhaps the biggest question of all, if Cahokia became one of the greatest cities in ancient North America, why did it eventually decline? To understand that mystery, we have to go back to the beginning. Cahokia did not appear overnight. For centuries, indigenous communities had lived throughout the Mississippi River Valley, growing crops, hunting, fishing, and building settlements. Then, around the 10th and 11th centuries, Cahokia began transforming dramatically. Its location was important. The settlement stood near the meeting of major rivers and fertile floodplains, creating opportunities for agriculture, transportation, and trade. As Cahokia grew, so did its influence. Large plazas appeared between monumental structures. Homes surrounded central areas, and enormous mounds changed the landscape. Some mounds supported important buildings. Others were connected with ceremonial or burial activities. The city was carefully organized, suggesting that its leaders could coordinate large communities and massive construction projects. But Cahokia's influence reached beyond the central settlement. Archaeologists have found evidence of connections between Cahokia and distant regions. Objects and materials moved through networks that connected communities across much of eastern North America. This was not an isolated village. It was part of a much larger Mississippian cultural world. At the center of Cahokia stood Monk's Mound. Imagine climbing its terraces more than 900 years ago. From the top, you could have looked across a landscape filled with homes, plazas, wooden structures, fields, and other enormous mounds. The city would have looked completely different from the modern landscape surrounding St. Louis. And then something began to change. The population did not remain at its peak forever. Cahokia entered a period of transformation. Residential areas changed. Some parts of the city became less densely occupied, and eventually, the great urban center declined. But what caused it? For decades, researchers have debated the answer. There is no single proven explanation for Cahokia's decline. Instead, archaeologists have identified several possible factors. Environmental change may have played a role. Cahokia depended heavily on agriculture, especially crops such as maize. Changes in rainfall, flooding, soil conditions, or the surrounding environment could have placed pressure on the population. There may also have been social and political problems. A city this large required cooperation. Its leaders had to organize food production, construction, trade, ceremonies, and community life. If that system became unstable, people may have gradually moved away. There is also evidence that Cahokia experienced population decline while construction and elite activity continued. That suggests the city did not simply collapse in one dramatic event. Instead, its transformation may have happened over generations. By around the 14th century, Cahokia had lost much of the population that had once made it a major urban center. But this does not mean the people simply vanished. Indigenous communities continued to live throughout the region. The decline of Cahokia was not the disappearance of native peoples from North America. It was the transformation of one enormous center within a much larger indigenous world. Centuries later, European settlers encountered a landscape where the great city was no longer functioning. Many of its original structures had disappeared beneath forests, fields, and later development. Yet the mounds remained. They became silent evidence of a civilization that had once shaped this part of North America. Today, Cahokia Mounds is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And perhaps its greatest mystery is not why the city disappeared, but why so many people once came together to build it in the first place. Because long before the skyscrapers of modern America, a monumental city had already risen beside the Mississippi.